You only had $100 to start with. Why is there so much more? Well, because they created it. That's what a bank does.
Right.
They create money. If you take a look at, if you're a bank and you've got $100,
that's like a house of cards, though, right?
But that's what the banking system is as a whole, right? If you're Mark, you have $100 and you go to the bank and you deposit that $100 and they're able to loan out 85% of that, right? You technically still have $100 in the bank, but they've loaned out 85%. So they loaned out $85. They loaned it to him. He took that $85 and he brings it into the bank and they loan out 85% of that to someone else. Now they've got $185 on deposit from you two, but they still have 60 out. You only had $100 to start with. Why is there so much more? Well, because they created it. That's what a bank does.
Right.
They create money. And when they raise interest rates, and then that bank is now underwater from that 1% that the interest rate went up, that's when all of these things starts to collapse and come back into themselves. And that hasn't happened. And that's why the market is
So it's the whole, it
where it
works
is right
until
now.
it doesn't. It works until you have a market. It works until you have market like fear, and then you have run on the banks.
But you also have to take into consideration how many people actually really want it, right? Like up until now, it's just been, everyone's been talking about it for so long. But now that it's here, let's see how many people care, right? There's been a lot of, everyone loved AMC as a stock until it didn't matter anymore.
Well, sure. Well,
right?
I mean,
so let's see.
Yeah,
let's
but
see if that happens.
that's switching topics, though. That's not saying that this is going to work. I feel like that's problematic. We're already seeing cracks emerging in our banking system from our overuse of this. We saw a huge amount of bank failures in the last year, a huge. We've talked about them on this show, and that's not even the only era where we've had a huge amount of bank failures since 1971, which is when we started doing this. So, and Bitcoin is the response to these cascading bank failure problems that have been occurring since the 2008 housing crisis. So, like, I think that these topics are intrinsically tied together, and to say that these ETF, I mean, I really feel like I need to go through these filing documents and understand what they're allowed to do and not do, because that's if you're saying that most of what they're saying is backed could be through like rehypothecation agree, like these margined.
Yeah, look at them.
That would be insane. That would be a very insane.
I've done zero research into what their documents say. I haven't bought any of them.
Sure,
to this point.
But I'm saying,
I'd like to wait until things shake out before we figure out what's going on. Yeah, I had a holding in GPTC, or we have a couple of clients that have it, but they bought them on their own. None of this stuff, like, really. I'm waiting. Again, it's buy the rumor, sell the news. Okay, the news came out. It's free. I don't know where it's trading at now, but I bet it's down.
Well, that's what, going back to what I said earlier about like the players, it's already priced in for them. You know.
No, I don't think it's. I think this is like one of the important discussions. If you want to have the big answer to the big question that we've talked about at the top of the show, why isn't the price double or triple or $1 million? Is we don't even know.
More sellers than buyers.
We don't even know if they're going to have real Bitcoin backing this thing. We just identified 2 or 3 ways where they can't, or where they wouldn't. Right? If it's fake Bitcoin or paper Bitcoin, you know.
Now that you see that the thing has been approved, you can see exactly what's been approved. Yeah, take a look at that prospectus, read it, see what it says, see what it is actually backed by. For me, it's, I'm comfortable in knowing that they've done enough due diligence that, I'm pretty sure that the amount of assets under management that BlackRock has compared to the amount of the size of their exposure to their Bitcoin ETF is probably pretty small, marginal. So I'm not worried that they're going to go out of business. So I'm still comfortable that if I were going to buy one of those, it would be one of the guys that has a pretty heavy P&L and balance sheet.
What's funny, you saying that, and this might not be relevant for this conversation, but like, I'm just thinking about like everybody that I know that has a significant amount of Bitcoin or perceived amount, because you never know what's the number one rule. Bitcoin, crypto, don't talk about your crypto, but anyway that I can assume has a ton of Bitcoin or crypto assets. When you really talk to them, and I'm like, man, they got all this. It's like, it's still like less than 5% of their entire portfolio. You know, so these guys, at least in my experience, that are, and I'm just throwing out random numbers, but the people that I know that are heavy into it, it's a fractional. I mean, they're still doing the smart way of trading, because that's how they made their wealth in the first place. Is they're not all in on one thing, other than maybe somebody at this table.
That's what I mean, theoretically speaking, that's, you know, you're always going to invest in the things that you are the most comfortable and familiar with, and that is a principle that Peter Lynch is, you know, wrote in every one of his books and has been kind of mantra from time immemorial, right? Your investment in your company is, you're like, are you all in on that? Yeah, I mean, that's your whole net worth, right? And the same thing for every other person. His whole net worth may be tied to crypto because that is what he does. And his net worth may be tied to Ethereum because that is what he does. And he knows it. He understands it. He is so comfortable with it and so absolutely sure that it's going to be 100%. I'm not going to tell you no that it isn't, right? But like for the person who is an actual investor that wants to have exposure, wants their money to work for them, then yeah, maybe 1 to 3% position in alternative investments, you know, 10% in alts in general, and then maybe 1 to 3% of your portfolio should be in something like this. We could do that.
Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.